Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and we have a very special guest today, Valerie Recore. Welcome to Imperfect Momming.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So I am a productivity coach, and I work with overwhelmed and overcommitted moms, and I help moms stop feeling pulled in too many directions, right? As moms, we just have so much going on. And my goal is to help moms focus on the right things versus all of the things, which I think is where we tend to feel where we tend to end up. And so I do one-on-one coaching and soon to roll out some group coaching. And my goal is to really help moms focus on what's important to them and their families versus what society is telling us we should be focused on, and take it from there.
Yeah, focusing on the right thing and not all of the things is so good. And I think I'm sort of, writing a blog about that right now, is really just focusing on like what's important to you inside being a mom and raising your kids. But this is, you're in the task orienting, of all the hats that we have to wear as moms and all the tasks that have to get done, and how I think we started talking about how I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with the beginning of school starting at the moment that we're recording this. And so where do moms start with you?
Yeah. So we start by in a couple of different places. So we start one by timing or tracking your time over the course of a week. So getting into that nitty gritty. And this is not just at the end of the day trying to figure out where your time went. This is every hour, maybe even 30 minutes, you stop what you're doing and you just document it real quick. It doesn't have to be like a big long thing. It's just, making dinner, soccer practice, whatever work task you're doing in that moment. So then at the end of a week, maybe two, we can sit back and look at where your time really, truly is going. So that's one part of it. And then the second part is answering the question and taking some time to sit with what you really want things to look like for you. What's important to you and your family? What are your goals outside of being a mom, outside of your family, and within your family? And what is that, if we were to look three months, maybe 6 months down the road, and we're celebrating all the hard work you have done with me, what does that look like? What are we celebrating? And sometimes it's a feeling. So it might not be a perfect description of like your perfect day, but it might be, I'm feeling more at peace. I'm feeling accomplished at the end of the day. I feel like I have time for myself, or time to breathe, or time to, I'm not running around from one fire to another. And so then we take those two and we figure out a plan from where you are now and how you're spending your time now to how do we get to this place where you really are feeling at peace every day. And we do it little by little, because I don't expect us to overhaul things at once and expect it to stick unless there are things that it really makes sense for that to happen. But I believe in small steps that they eventually lead to big change. And so it's really, I had a client who just was going to the grocery store a lot during the week. And it was, what can we do to streamline that? How can we simplify that so you're going to one store once a week? and you're not running around, and, gave her back several hours in her week. And that was just a very simple, there were some steps in there of creating lists and what grocery stores are you going to, right? Like my family shops at Costco and another store. And so it's every other week we go to one of the stores and we buy what we need for, depending on the store, what we're picking up. And it can be really simple tweaks and really simple steps, but it's really focusing on where you are now and where you want to be.
Yeah. And I've done that where, I've written down everything that I did, and I've had some of my clients do that too. And it's been really impactful. You don't realize where your time wasters are. And I'm not even talking about, just playing video games on your phone, because I do that. I waste time that way. But like going to the grocery store and 30 times a week and not being as efficient as we can, but getting 3 or 4 hours a week back in time, like when you're feeling overwhelmed, can just be such a huge thing. And I've also been asked to describe your ideal day, and it's really hard for me to describe an ideal day, because I know that that my plan for the day is not going to survive collision with humans. It's just not. And I mean, for example, my son had a doctor's appointment this morning, and then I would, had to take him to school after that. And then the dog had an appointment, and to drop him off to that. And I told them when I made the dog appointment, I'm going to the doctor. We have no idea how long that's going to take. If I'm not there by 9:15, is there going to be a penalty? Because I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. And they said it was fine. And we ended up waiting after the appointment for 20 minutes just for a doctor's note to go back to school. I'm like, he could have been in school 20 minutes ago. 15 minutes ago, and ended up being an hour late for the dog appointment. But just like I said, it just doesn't, your plans don't survive collision with humans. But I love the idea of, I know how I want to feel during the day, and maybe that's just more, I'm a feely person than the visual person of here's what I want it to do. And I know that I get a lot more frustrated when I have a set plan for the day of what I'm going to do minute by minute, versus if I have a general idea of what I'd like to get accomplished by the end of the day, and have kind of a to-do list rather than here's my schedule of what I'm going to do and when.
Right. Because there's that room for things to go wrong. Or things to shift. It doesn't even have to be negative in that manner. And I like to look at my to-do list over the course of a week. So I don't, and I know there are many time management gurus out there who do tell you to plan your stuff down to the minute, you schedule your tasks. And I think that works great for some people. There's certainly space for that. I plan, I will look at my schedule over the course of a week. What's the hardscape? What are the meetings I have, the clients, the podcast recordings, the things that I need to show up for? And then what are the other goals? Because I'm going to have days where I'm not going to get a lot of certain things done because I'm busy with appointments. And so the other things are going to happen on days where maybe I don't have as many meetings. Or I may wake up one day and be full of energy and be like, I'm going to knock out this blog and write all these social media posts, and I've got all these ideas and it's great. And then other days I'm just like, I got nothing to give today, and I'm going to focus on something a little bit different. And giving yourself that grace over the course of a week of knowing that by Friday, I need to have these tasks done for my business, for my family, for whatever those tasks fit, and not 25 of them. I'm talking 7,
Right.
Something realistic. There's more space for you to succeed in there, because inevitably, especially with young kids, there's going to be sick days. There's going to be snow days. There's going to be traffic. There's going to be, you know, dead batteries in your car and doctor's appointments and like, who knows, right? And so you want to leave space for all of that stuff. And then you can also have, if that's going to drive you crazy, to not have all of those, you know, to suddenly know you might have 20 minutes, keep a running list of little things that you can do when you have that time. Mm-hmm. So suddenly you do get your son to school on time. The appointment runs really fast. You get your dog out and you're like, oh, look, I have 30 minutes before my next call. Instead of sinking down into social media land and like never coming back up, have a list of things that you can dive into or go take a walk or something so that you have a quick, oh, I can go do these 3 things real fast because they're easy. I can knock them off my list and I've already documented them and they're ready to go. And so having that space as well can be helpful.
That's a really good idea. I do a lot of writing and I have lots of writing ideas. And when I find the time or have some extra time to do some writing, so either I've planned it in my schedule or I have that extra time, a lot of time is spent like, what do I want to work on? And even trying to think of the projects. And so if I just had a running list of like what the projects are, I think that I could go through and just say, oh, that sounds the most exciting right now. And then do that one and get that knocked out. So that's really good tip that I will apply personally because it's amazing. And I get criticized because I like to get gas at Costco because it's like 10 cents cheaper.
It's much cheaper. Yeah.
everywhere else. And, but they're a little bit out of the way, they're not right next to places that I always go. But I do go near them at some point during the week. And so what I end up doing as a time management thing and not wasting the gas money that I'm saving to go out of the way to get that gas is, the dog appointment is down the street from Costco. So, and I knew I needed gas today. So I didn't drive much this weekend and I went to get gas today just as, a time management thing. I will have to go pick up the dog later and my stepmom is in that area and I ran out of time this morning. So I'm going to go, when I pick up the dog, I'm going to go over there. It's just like having somewhat of a strategy.
Yeah. You're batching what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's really helpful. So continue. I sort of interrupted you there.
I didn't even, I couldn't even think of the word. So batching is perfect. And those are the kinds of things that save us time where, there's a lot of times we'll not think of that type of thing and go over here and then go over there and then go over there. And then we're like, where did our day go?
Yeah, definitely. It's things like how many times have you been in Target in the last few weeks? Too many for me, mostly because they were out of school supplies whenever I was there. And I would have to go back to get something. And now I'm swearing off Target for at least a week just because I need a break.
Right.
But it's thinking of things like there's one grocery store that sells the relish that we like. So we have a list and it's not a store. We don't go there very often. So we have a list of things that we would buy if we go there. And then when we do like, okay, well, we just need a few things right now. Let's go to the store. I'm going to buy several jars of relish and a few other things that we usually get there or might need, pick up some fresh produce. So I'm not hitting 3 grocery stores. I'm batching that. Or we just need some apples. And one of the Targets I run into happens to also have a grocery store. And so I will pick up something there or maybe some dry good, whatever it is. So kind of thinking through what you're doing and what you were talking about with Costco and the gas and your dog helps because it means you're not running to a bunch of different places throughout the week and just really trying to think through what you need and how to streamline it is so helpful and saves you time.
Yeah. And for me, it really comes from I mean, I don't know that I did it very well before the pandemic, but
Mm-hmm.
we live, 20 minutes, 30 minutes from, a larger town. So we're in a small
Mm-hmm.
town that, has a Walmart in it. And then, 30 minutes to probably the closest Target. Um, and I don't like going there every day to, I don't mind going
Mm-hmm.
to Walmart every day. It's 5 minutes, but from where I live, but I don't want to drive 30 minutes
Mm-hmm.
because, I need to go get gas, or I need to, I'm gonna batch those
Mm-hmm.
things. Because I think at one point during the pandemic, I think I drove maybe one day a week out there,
Mm-hmm.
maybe two. And I loved how little gas or how often I was getting gas, because it's like, and then now, when everything kind of tripled, um,
Mm-hmm.
it's even a more economical way of living, and not, and I try to be conscious of my, what's it called, your footprint,
Mm-hmm. Like your
your
environmental footprint.
environmental footprint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
I try to think about all that kind of stuff, and not to overwhelm,
Mm-hmm.
but to keep it into consideration. Like, my son has a class on Wednesdays in town, so what else can I do on Wednesday in
While you're
town?
there. Yeah. Yeah. Really trying to hit all, like having an errands day where you just block off a few hours and that's all you're going to do is just work your way down a list of things and places that you need to stop and things you need to get and um, go from there.
What
Yeah.
would you say your clients' biggest struggle? Like, what is it that they don't want to let go of?
The very first thing that just the word that popped into my brain was control.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that comes from we like things to be done our way,
Mhm.
in our timeline, but
Mhm.
we live with other humans
Mhm.
and we have to let go of some of that. And that's tricky. And I get that. And I, in my newsletters and social media to some degree, talk a lot about the dishwasher because we fight over the dishwasher. Not me and my husband, we've worked through this, but I talk about this often of, how, so one of the stories that I share is back in college, I had a roommate he would re-clean the bathroom after I cleaned it. So I quit cleaning the bathroom because I didn't see the point in me taking the time to clean it if somebody else was just going to redo it.
Yeah.
But I think we as moms do that sometimes too. And so I've had a friend tell me that he would fight with his wife a lot about the dishwasher because she would reload it often, like reorganize it after he'd loaded it. And he was not going to help it. He wasn't going to do it anymore because it wasn't worth his time.
Yeah.
And so it's really looking at what it is you want to get off your plate. What is it that other things in your household, what is it that tasks that other people in your household can take over? And
Mhm.
how do you then let go of that need for it to be done your way on your timeline?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, we could go deep into that subject, but it gets really into like really, and I think the control is just coming from like, we want things done in a way that makes sense to us, and our
Mhm.
partner or our kids might do it differently,
Yeah.
or they may take a long time. My kitchen is a mess right now. I'm looking this way because it's right here. We're working really hard on having my kids empty and help us with dishes, empty the dishwasher and load it. And they're really excited about this right now. And so I want to go with it. But it really needs to be dealt with. And we're going to wait until they get home from school today so that whoever's turn it is today, we can like roll with this. And she's going to help me empty it when she gets home from school. And so it's just like sitting with the fact that this kitchen is a mess and there's probably another load of dishes sitting on the counter, but I want my daughter to help me because it's a skill she needs. And it's something that I would love at some point to just let her do without supervision, because I know she's going to be able to do it just fine. And can I fit more dishes in there after she's loaded it? Probably. But somebody else did it. And so it was one less thing that I don't have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really working towards that.
Yeah, that's my son's job too. And we have, he doesn't really like it all that much, but I was like, that's exciting that your kids are excited to do it.
We're rolling with it. We several years ago, I think before the pandemic, maybe early on, they wanted to help too, but it was just, we're just in the habit of it, of just like one of us is taking a break. It's nearing the end of the day. It's lunchtime, whatever. We just deal with it. Mm-hmm. And so we never had our kids. We would forget that they wanted to help us. And they are 7 and 9, and it is time. They did more around the house. And so we're going to work on building that back in.
That was a struggle for me when he started unloading, because not because of where he would put stuff. That's another, he's learning, and it's like he hasn't figured out the Tetrising of certain things. Like certain things it's fine, and other things it's just he tosses it in the drawer, and then you can't close the drawer because there's no Tetris.
Yeah, right.
So then when I need to go back through, when that happens, then I say, okay, this goes here, and this goes here, and this goes here, and show him and allow him to, develop that same pattern that I do for efficiency, not the control of it necessarily.
Which is perfect. Yeah.
And what was a struggle for me was that a lot of times I empty the dishwasher in the morning. I'm awake before everybody else. And so I will get up and if I feel like it, I'll empty the dishwasher. And I would have to stop myself from doing that. And then there's dishes in the sink, and that drives me crazy. But,
sure.
But as time went on, it stopped driving me crazy, because I knew that there was a system that was being created, that when he gets home, he's going to empty it, and then I can reload it. And a lot of it for me was remembering that the loading of it really takes less than 5 minutes. The unloading of it can also take 5 minutes. It depends on how much we want to whine about it today.
Right.
How much we want to complain first. But that a lot of the jobs that feel overwhelming and I don't want to do it, it's like, if you really just break it down, it takes 2 to 3 minutes. And it's not that hard to find that 2 to 3 minutes. It's just, we look at the pile and think, oh, this is going to take forever. And we don't stop to think about, it actually only takes 5 minutes.
It does. And that's another thing that I have my clients do, is timing their tasks, because we feel like, oh my gosh, this laundry is going to take forever, but it takes 5 minutes for one laundry basket, or 5 minutes for the dishwasher. And so it does, it feels really overwhelming. And maybe it takes 20 minutes to empty the dishwasher, load the dishwasher, wipe down the counters, hand wash all the things that need to be hand washed, and wipe down the dining room table. That's going to take longer, but you don't have to do that all at the same time. You can break that up over the course of the day or the evening, or with somebody else, and get into that. And I should, as you were talking, coming back, sometimes the word control, I feel like, can be very harsh. And I don't want listeners to think there's, like, I think that word control for moms and wanting things done our way comes from this sense of that we love what we do, and we take pride in what we do, and we take pride in being a mom and having a nice house. And we want things done our way, because that is just kind of the way that we just see things happening. And so I love your story of your son, of that you're working on that with him, of he's taking it over, and you've found a way to let that go, that not necessarily doing it first thing in the morning, and that Tetrising is a verb now because it's a fun word and it's true.
And I think that control gets the label of control, where it's really comes from our desire to be nurturers and to take care of.
Yeah, that's a much better explanation. Yeah, I think that's really it. It's that we have been taught that we are the ones that need to be taking care of all of this, that is our job. And so when somebody else is doing it, or we let that piece go, then we are no longer the moms we define ourselves as. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a way better. It was in there. I knew that.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that we co-created that. That's good. And I think that's it's important to understand where the come from is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when we understand where the come from is, then we can kind of let go of some of those stories of, because it is important for our children to help around the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially if with boys who are going to become men, who are going to be husbands, who, you know, need to, you don't want your future daughter-in-law coming to you saying, what did you do to this child? Like, how come you didn't make him empty the dishwasher? He doesn't know how to do, you know, you don't want that. So like, you know, we kind of live in this, it seems like we're getting out of this generational, I have to do it all myself mentality. That my mom's generation, I think, was in, where they were, you know, the greatest generation was home with their kids and did all the house stuff. And then the boomers were expected to go to work and do what their mom did, do all the house stuff,
do all
and
of
take
it.
care of the kids. And so, you know, I think that my generation kind of is like, my mom went crazy trying to do it all. I don't want to go crazy.
No, you don't.
Yeah. And I just had a client this last week that, you know, in her culture, it's very much like the husband provides and mom takes care of the house and the kids. And so he would provide, her husband was providing, but she was overwhelmed with 4 kids and the house and wanted his help. And he's like, no, that's not my job. And so she went to get a job and said, well, now he'll have to help me. And I'm like, ooh, he didn't have to.
No. Oh my goodness.
He doesn't have to. I mean, it's unfortunately, like, he doesn't have to. Like, there's lots of, this could be like 4 or 5 hours of conversation.
It could be. Yeah. I have lots to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it boils down to the expectation and having these conversations, and it's really difficult when you have these roles and now one person is inflexible and doesn't want to step outside of their role, and that's really difficult.
Yeah. And we are still a society that is designed for one person to work and one person to be home with the kids. And we make it really hard for both parents to work and take care of the family. And I guess we could spend hours talking about this, but it's one of my favorite topics. But it's really looking at that, and really that even if she is home with the kids full time and he is working, it is not her responsibility to take all of it on.
Yeah.
That there still needs to be some give and take with him as well, which is tricky, especially if that's the culture you were raised in, and that makes it much more difficult.
Yeah.
To deal with.
Humans are complicated.
Yes, we are.
And sometimes our solutions are really simple too. You know, we just try to complicate the solution on top of all of our complication.
Right.
Is there a piece of advice that you want to give to our listeners?
I think the biggest thing I would love for your listeners to take away is that it's not all on you. It doesn't have to all sit on your shoulders to keep a household functioning, and that there are ways to get that support, and there are ways to shift things so that it doesn't all weigh you down. It can be somewhat simple. It feels heavy and it feels big, but we don't have to make it quite so complicated.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
And is there a book that was really helpful in your own personal development journey?
Yeah. So one of my favorite books that I love talking about, it's called Fair Play, and it's by Eve. Her name is Eve Rodsky, and she talks about a lot of what we just talked about here. So that sharing the load between partners and your family, it doesn't just have to be you and your partner, like your kids are involved, and across the board, whether you are with your partner or co-parenting with somebody. I know things get tricky when you're a single parent. It's kind of things look different. But it's definitely looking at what's on your plate and really taking that time to figure out what belongs there and what you can let go of, and then how to focus best on getting all of that done. And I love it. I use it in my family, and I'm looking to incorporate more of it in my own business going forward. So
I think that's really helpful. I think there's a lot of marriages that struggle because the expectations aren't verbalized prior. And so then you get into this, union, and now you have an expectation and I have an expectation, and they're not aligned. And now we have conflict, and then you throw a kid in the mix, and now we have more conflict because we're just not communicating. It's so, right. I find it so funny that I've put a post on Facebook a couple of times, I think, and what's the most important thing in a relationship? And I would say 97% of people will say communication, and we don't know how to communicate effectively.
Right? No. It's so true.
I mean, my boyfriend and I learned this from my friend who, before we decided to live together several years ago, she and I talked about our deal breakers inside of a roommate situation. Like, what is your I must have, and what is your I must not have? And we sat down and came up with a compromise of like how to live together. And there were several times that I broke my fair share of the deal, but she would just come back to me with no energy and say, hey, remember how we talked about keeping, like, your room can be as messy as you want, but the common area needs to be free of your stuff. Can you pick up your stuff now? Little things like that. And she just did it so beautifully. And so in my relationship with my boyfriend, we kind of did a lot of the same stuff, and he liked the chores that are like one day a week where I just spend the day doing the chores. And I like the routine of every day I do something of this, that, and the other. So I started doing the dishes and the laundry, because those are the everyday things, and he would do like the bathrooms and the vacuuming. And then I got pregnant I'm a surrogate, and this pregnancy hit me harder than any other pregnancy because there's 2 of them in there.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Yeah. And it was so seamless, the transition that we made from this is my role to I'm going to help you now. Because I want, he's like, because I want to have underwear and I want to have dishes to eat off of, so he understood. And it was like, when you have that kind of foundation of the communication, and there's genuine love and respect inside the relationship, that can happen. And sometimes there needs to be a conversation too, like, hey, I can't, I'm sleeping, or I'm doing the absolute minimum, and then I sleep, and that's all I can do right now. And can you pick up the slack, So I was, not to make it all about me for a second, but
no, it can be. And I think that's great. And one of the Fair Play books, she's got a deck of cards that come with it as well. And what I love about that is it helps you have those conversations, and she walks through how to have them. So it's not you sitting down with your partner going, hey, look, you're not doing anything right. I'm doing too much. Like, she shows you how to have respectful conversations. And the deck of cards, and you can create your own as well, sort of takes the focus off the two of you fighting it out. Like you could sit down with the cards and say, hey, look, we don't send Christmas cards because I just can't be bothered every year. So that card can go away, right? Nobody's even dealing with that one. We are each responsible for buying Christmas and birthday gifts for our families. I will not buy for my in-laws, for his family. He's on his own. And if that means that they get their gifts 6 weeks late, it doesn't matter. Like, that is not my problem. And so it gives you a focus to have those conversations and a reminder that it doesn't have to stay that way forever. And so it can, like with my kids, they're taking on these chores, and it's going to change each week or each day who does what. And we can sit down, and like my husband and I can sit down and every week or two look at, okay, who is doing what? Does this still make sense? Does it work for this week? And it might be like, hey, I've got a lot of these calls going on, or client calls, and then podcasts, and I'm going to be busy doing this. I need you to take on Y. And he will gladly, we'll talk about that and know that that stuff is coming, but it gives you some boundaries and some structure for having those conversations. So you're not just coming in whining, or not whining, but like complaining about, why isn't the dishwasher done? Or why didn't you mop today? Or
coming in hot.
Right. And you don't want, that's not the way to have those relationships. And you don't need that. And nobody needs that in their house. And so being able to have those conversations in a respectful manner, and giving you that way to do it. And
it sounds like a book for every marriage before you get married.
Probably. Maybe I'll start. Yeah. I'm beyond the age of weddings all summer long, but it could be.
It's coming. It's coming again next year.
Gift.
Yeah, somebody had said, or one of the books that they recommended is one that they give at a baby shower, and I was like, what a beautiful idea to give XYZ book at a baby shower. That's amazing. I don't remember the book now, but and I remember as a kid, my brothers don't have the same fondness of the memory that I do. I was the youngest, but we were partnered with one other person, and we rotated 3 rooms. And so there was 6 of us, and I was with my stepmom, and my brother and stepsister were together. And then my dad and my other brother were together, and we would rotate kitchen, living room, bathrooms. And so this weekend we did this, and next weekend we did that, and next weekend we did that. And I like, what a brilliant system that they came up with. And my brothers thought of themselves as indentured servants, because they felt like they just dirtied the house all week and then expected us to clean it up on the weekends. But I didn't see it that way. I was like, it was teamwork. It was not doing it. It was collaboration, because you're not doing it by yourself. It was learning how to do these tasks. And I highly recommend that, and it gives a sense of teamwork. Like, we're all in this together. Nobody is subordinate, because we're all doing it together.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And that teamwork is huge, especially within a family. Like my 7-year-old, she does not want to do anything by herself. I'll ask her to go take care of something, and she just cries about it. And it's because she wants help. And it's not that she can't do it by herself. She doesn't want to. And it's going to go much easier if I realize that and go help her and turn it into a game and make it fun for both of us and do it together. Then we're going to get things cleaned versus just asking her to go do something. So that's a brilliant solution.
I personally resonate with your 7-year-old, and so does my son. I'd rather not do it by myself. Hence, I have guests on all of my podcast episodes.
Fine. You know what works for you.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being here. Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Stride Productivity. And another great place to start is strideproductivity.com/quiz. And you can take a quick, fun 60-second quiz that connects you with a character from the movie Bad Moms, which I know is probably a little dated at this point, but it resonates with me. And it gives you a mantra and just a quick description that just kind of helps you start seeing things, just making sense of things, and the mantra to just give you a quick sense of peace right away. And I've got some great things coming soon, so follow me so that you can kind of see what's coming up.
That sounds awesome. I might have to go take the test just to find out.
I would love to know. Let me know.
And well, thank you again. I've really enjoyed the co-creation we've done here today, and you were a pleasure to talk to. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I hope your listeners heard something that resonates with them.
I know I did.
Good.
So we'll have another episode of Imperfect Momming for you next week. And until then, keep healing. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's AlysiaLyons.com. See you next time.